Happy Halloween! I promise to keep this video short, just hang in there with me because as a pet professional, we often see real tragedies on holidays, especially Halloween. So I'm going to bring you 6 real-life pet horrors and pet owner horrors that happen every year on Halloween that maybe you haven't thought of before, and I'm going to help you prevent those things from happening in your home. So let's get into it. Number 6, deadly decorations. Pets are injured by decorations every single year, so you just need to take a look at your decorations and see, do they pose a strangulation hazard? Do they pose a choking risk? Get down on the floor where your dog might be, or even get up on surfaces and eye level with surfaces and look around and see where your cat might go and what things they may decide to put in their mouths. Cats get tangled up in those fake spider webs quite often, and anything with an electric cord anywhere near anybody's mouth is really dangerous. So you don't want them to chew through anything. And I know that this is stuff you would normally know about and not have in your house, but sometimes when Halloween comes around and other holidays come around, we decorate, we don't necessarily, it just doesn't always click. A popular decoration would be glow sticks or any kind of glowy thing. The substance inside those glow sticks are non-toxic, so that's a win. Although it can cause your pet to drool excessively and it can be really scary, and your pet can still have a reaction even if it's not typically toxic. So you really want to keep those out of their reach. And if you do see them get a hold of it, try to get rid of it quickly, try to wipe off their face and get it out of their mouth as much as possible. Always have the pet hotline for poison control either in your phone or on your refrigerator. Unfortunately, they do charge you if you call the pet poison control, but it is a really useful number to have on hand because you never know when your dog can get into something or eat something, and then you need to know, is this going to be toxic? Do I have to run my dog into a veterinarian? Emergency room veterinarian on Halloween night sounds like a horror, so I'm sure you want to avoid that. And the other decoration I want to mention is really more for after Halloween, but pumpkins are usually pretty tasty. Dogs like pumpkins. Cats will also eat pumpkin. When pumpkin is fresh, it's really not harmful for your dog to eat, and pumpkin seeds are safe as well. But unfortunately, they do tend to start molding, especially in humid climates, and they can start rotting and have all kinds of bacteria and other pathogens on them. So you have to make sure that you dispose of jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins within a couple of days of Halloween. The sooner the better. And of course, make sure that all jack-o'-lanterns that have real candles in them are way out of the reach of dogs, children, and potentially trailing costumes. So I think a lot of people now use those cool little battery, flickery, fake candles. Those are awesome. No fires. Number 5 is dying to be cute. Unfortunately, every year, pets are killed by their cute costumes. Pet costumes are amazing, but just like a baby costume, if you were putting a toddler or an infant in a costume, for all of my pet parents that are also human parents, you would know that you would never ever leave that baby alone unsupervised in any kind of a costume because of the fact that infants can just get themselves into trouble, and dogs are the same and cats are the same. You can miss things like buttons that might be able to be chewed off or popped off and cause a choking hazard, strings and hoods and things that can go around the neck that might get pulled too tight. You do not want to come back to an intestinal obstruction, a choked dog, or anything like that. Number 4, worse than a vampire bite, worse than a zombie bite, it's when your dog bites someone. That is something that nobody wants to have to deal with, but every single year, thousands of people in the United States have to deal with the horror of their pet being usually pushed too far into fear, but also otherwise being aggressive and biting people. You wouldn't be surprised to know that Halloween is one of those days that a lot of pets bite strangers because they are freaked out. It is a kind of a scary day. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea why everybody's all hyped up. New people are coming, doorbells are ringing. It can be kind of a crazy experience. If your pet, like many pets, are wary of strangers and you're having people in your home or anywhere near your pet, you need to keep your pet safe in a crate locked away or in a room and put a big sign on the room that says, you know, do not enter. The pet is in here. Because unfortunately, a lot of times party goers just don't know how to handle animals appropriately and will reach under that bed to pet the cat or the dog, and then they get themselves hurt. Not for cats, but unfortunately for dogs, biting a human often results in a death sentence, and also sometimes really awful lawsuits. So you just want to prevent this. Any pet you have that's just not a real extrovert, make sure your dog is in another room. And if you're having a party in your house, make sure even your friendly, happy dog is near you at all times. Just keep your pet safe. And your guests. I mean, we care about them too. You don't want anyone getting bitten, because we do care about the people too. Halloween horror number 3 is a treat for you, but a trick for her. Or him, because we want to be inclusive. Every year on Halloween, we have an abundance of snacks and candy and baked goods. A lot of baked goods are increasingly being found with xylitol in them. Anything labeled sugar-free or dentist-approved probably has xylitol in it. You need to be wary. Xylitol can be very, very toxic and shut down the kidneys. And then, of course, we have chocolate, especially baking chocolate, dark chocolates, or just a lot of it. I still remember one year when I was a child and coming downstairs and seeing a little pile of doggy puke full of Hershey Kiss foils, and thinking that my beloved dog was going to be so sick. He managed to get a hold of an entire bag of Hershey's Kisses, and he ate them, foil and all. Fortunately, he was okay. Before you go to bed, just do a quick sweep of the house or anywhere that the dog or cat may be free, and make sure that they don't have any access to things that might be toxic to them. And also, a very often missed danger for your pet are any kind of open bags, Mylar bags, or plastic bags like chip bags that are empty. Unfortunately, dogs in particular will shove their little faces in there trying to get the last bits of the chip and or whatever is in there, and it creates a vacuum around them and they suffocate. And this is obviously just it's a horrible thing to come home to. Make sure that your pet is either locked up or that anything like that, food bags and things, are put away carefully. Halloween horror number 2 is the killer collision. Unfortunately, there are a lot of car accidents on Halloween. Sometimes those accidents involve in the car, and sometimes the accident is the dog or the cat running across the street and being struck by a car. Also unfortunate is that a lot of people on Halloween imbibe alcoholic beverages and get behind the wheel of a car. This is something that is really awful, and it happens. If you take your dog trick-or-treating, which is totally great, I do it, it's fun, you just need to make sure that you know your dog. Make sure that your harness is escape-proof as much as possible. Even have a backup collar connected to a D-ring to the leash so that you have 2 connections on your dog. You may know your dog really well, but have never taken your dog out on a really crowded day like Halloween. And you need to remember, all of those people that are walking around probably won't look like people to your dog. I mean, he's seeing monsters everywhere, right? It's going to be really a lot at once. Now, hopefully your dog is just like, this is great, because he sees that you're happy and hears all the laughter. And a lot of times that's true. That's always true with my dogs. They love it. They just think it's a great party. But sometimes you're unaware of how your dog is going to react in these kinds of situations. And the dog might panic, it might get off of leash and then just bolt, and they don't even know where they're going. If you're bringing your dog with you on Halloween, you need to make sure that the children understand from the beginning of the walk that if the dog for some reason gets loose or free, that the children must not chase the dog. Make sure that you tell it to your children ahead of time. You do not want your child being hit by a car because they were chasing the dog into the street. That would just be a real Halloween horror. So make sure that your children understands, hey, if Buddy gets loose, you stay on the sidewalk. And furthermore, chasing the dog is more likely to cause him to run. It's better if you can try to squat down and call the dog to you. And if that doesn't work, go around and try to cut the dog off in the direction that he is going. And don't get yourself struck by a car. Be very careful. Try not to panic. Do your best to step on the leash as the dog is running, rather than to grab the dog or the collar. And do remember that a panicked dog might bite. They won't necessarily know it's you when you grab them. So the safest way to get them is to step on the trailing leash and get the dog to stop. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody, but if it does, just to know these things in advance can be life-saving. Another thing that you want to make sure that you do is have your dog's identification tag on his collar with your address or phone number clear. And if you have a microchip, make sure that the information on the microchip is updated with your current address and phone number. I recommend making sure that you see how your dog handles the trick-or-treaters coming to the door before you decide to take your dog with you. Even if you've taken your dog with you before on many occasions, animals can be funny. They can get sick, they can have injuries as they get older, they can just be old and cranky. Just make sure that you're really paying attention, and I know that's so easy to miss when we're caught up. If you don't have time for it, it's okay to leave your dog at home. Otherwise, just make sure that he's okay. Look for those wide eyes that are looking around. That's usually a sign. A lot of lipping, a lot of lip licking, drooling, panting when it's not hot. Those sorts of things usually indicate nerves. And finally, make sure that you do not have your dog loose in the car. And you think it's going to be okay because you're not going very far. And then you get struck by a drunk driver. It's a horrible thing to happen. Nobody thinks it's going to happen to them. And most car accidents happen within a mile of the home. A lot of times when people aren't going very fast. But just because you're not going very fast and just because you're safe doesn't mean that someone else will be. Please be careful. Make sure that everybody's buckled, including the dog, because unfortunately, Halloween has one of the highest rates of car accidents out of the year. Halloween horror number 1, scared to death. This is the most common cause of serious accidents. Halloween can be very, very scary. Your dog could be great every other year, and then all of a sudden, for some reason this year, he's stressed out. So if you're leaving the house, it is better for you to crate your dog up or put them in a room where you know that they are safe. Preferably where there are no windows low down to the ground. As horrific as it sounds, every year on holidays like Halloween and especially on the 4th of July, animals panic and run through windows. And it is a disaster, as you can imagine. So you want to make sure that your dog is somewhere that he is going to be safe. I don't love to crate. I don't mind them, hanging out. Although one of my girls has figured out how to get my bedroom door open if I don't close it really properly, and it kind of sticks, and then she just lays on my bed when I'm gone. But I don't care, right? I don't love crating them. I prefer to only crate puppies. So I understand that a lot of people do not like the idea of having to crate their dog. Some people only do it, generally speaking, because they have to. Some dogs chew no matter what you do or what age they are. But I can understand if you've got a dog that usually just chills out and you don't want to crate him. It might be a safe idea to just crate the dog when you are gone on Halloween to make sure that you don't have to worry about, did I overlook something? Did one of the kids leave candy down somewhere? Did somebody leave a bag of chips or a bag of popcorn down somewhere? Is somebody going to come by and let off, fireworks, even though they're illegal in a lot of places, but people still do it? Are they going to let off fireworks near your house and panic your dog? It's just not worth it. You can turn a fan on or a TV on or a computer onto. There are YouTube channels for when dogs are left home. There are sound machines, things like that. They're really soothing, comforting, but mostly they block out a lot of the outside noise, and that might help your pet calm down. The other thing I recommend, if it is possible to fit it into your day, get that dog some exercise. Of course, the more wiped out the dog is, the better they're going to chill in the evening. Just to be careful. I like to be safe. These are your family members, they're your babies, and you want to make sure that everything is okay. Trick-or-treaters coming to the door can be really exhausting and scary for your dog, even if they're in another room. If your dog is really reactive to the doorbell ringing, they get excited, even if it's happy excited, you might want to stick a Post-it note over the doorbell and write knock on it. Or you could sit in front of the door during the busy part of the night. You could sit outside if it's nice, or just have the door cracked and kind of chill out right there so that you don't have the doorbell constantly ringing or people constantly knocking. Hearing trick or treat really loud and all the voices talking, that alone is going to be stressful. I can't tell you how many times I've gone trick or treating with my children and seen dogs shoot out the door when people open the door, and that always blows my mind. That is so scary. If your dog might bolt, even if you don't think your dog has ever bolted before and you don't think that he would, put a leash on him. If he gets out, you can catch him faster, or have somebody holding on to him when the door is opening and closing. Again, Halloween is weird. You've got all these little tiny monsters coming to your door. The dog doesn't know what's going on. Cats also escape, and cats in particular are in danger on Halloween nights because unfortunately there are people out there that will harm them if they catch them. So you really want to make sure that your animal is protected and not capable of getting out the door. Not to mention the fact that a lot of times the dogs that come to the door scare the children, and some kids are really afraid of dogs. And so if they can see that your dog is on a leash and is being restrained by somebody, it makes them less afraid and they have the chance to be curious about the dog, and that can go a long way in helping a child become more comfortable with dogs so that they can enjoy those relationships in the future in their own lives. So all around, keep your pet safe this Halloween, and keep your beautiful children safe this Halloween, and keep yourself safe this Halloween so that we are around for, the next holidays and everything else. So happy Halloween, everybody, and I will see you in the next one.